The studio lights burned bright that morning, reflecting off the glossy set of The View, where tensions had already been brewing long before Julia Roberts even stepped onto the stage. The audience was electric, buzzing with excitement. After all, Julia Roberts wasn't just another Hollywood guest. She was America's sweetheart, the woman whose smile had lit up the big screen for over 3 decades. She had come to promote her latest project, a dramatic political thriller that had everyone talking. But no one, not even the show's producers, could have predicted that this segment would spiral into one of the most talked about moments in live television history. From the very start, there was an uneasy energy between Julia and Joy Behar, who was filling her usual role as the show's outspoken provocateur. Joy, known for her sharp tongue and fearless opinions, seemed unusually combative that morning. Maybe it was the tension of election season, maybe it was something personal, but she was on edge. The moment Julia sat down and greeted the panel with her signature warmth, the tone was already off. The usual playful laughter and easy conversation were replaced with subtle jabs, awkward pauses, and sidelong glances between the co-hosts. "Julia, you've always been someone who plays strong women on screen," Joy began, flipping through her cue cards but never breaking eye contact. "But I'm curious. How do you feel about Hollywood's hypocrisy when it comes to politics? You speak about unity, but isn't it true that the film industry pushes one narrative while silencing others?" The question hung in the air, heavy and loaded. Julia hesitated, her smile faltering just slightly. The crowd murmured. This wasn't the light-hearted discussion about her movie she had been expecting. She gave a polite laugh, trying to steer the conversation back to neutral ground. "Well, Joy, I think it's important that everyone has a voice. I don't see it as hypocrisy. I see it as progress. We're all learning, growing, trying to do better." But Joy wasn't satisfied. "That's a nice soundbite, Julia. But come on, you've been in this business long enough to know that not everyone gets a fair platform. Don't you think people like you, the Hollywood elite, live in a bit of a bubble?" A few audience members gasped. Julia's expression changed. The sweetness faded, replaced by a flicker of irritation. "I don't think it's fair to assume that just because someone works in film, they're out of touch," she said firmly. "I grew up in Georgia. Joy, I know what real life looks like. I've never forgotten where I came from." The tension was now undeniable. Whoopi Goldberg, sitting between them, glanced nervously at the producer's booth, as if silently asking whether to cut to commercial. But the control room was frozen. This was TV gold, the kind of unscripted moment that would drive headlines for days. Joy pressed on undeterred. "I'm just saying, Julia, sometimes it seems like actors lecture the rest of us on how to think, how to vote, how to feel. You've done plenty of movies about ordinary people, but when was the last time you actually talked to one outside of a red carpet?" The air went still. Julia's jaw tightened. For a moment she didn't respond. She took a slow breath, looked straight at Joy, and said quietly but clearly, "You know, Joy, I came here to talk about my work, not to be insulted." The audience reacted instantly. A mix of applause, gasps, and murmurs rippled through the studio. The co-host shifted uncomfortably. Sarah Haynes tried to jump in, nervously laughing. Okay, let's pivot back to the movie." But Joy wasn't finished. "No, it's not an insult," Joy insisted. "It's a conversation. That's what we do here, Julia. You're a big girl, you can handle tough questions." Julia leaned forward, her expression cold now. "A tough question is fine, Joy. But what you're doing is trying to pick a fight. And honestly, I don't know why." Whoopi finally raised a hand. "Ladies, let's keep this civil," she said, her voice low but firm. "We're not here to tear anyone down." But it was too late. The cameras were rolling, the tension was uncontainable, and every second was being broadcast live to millions of viewers. Julia tried one more time to bring the discussion back to her film, describing the story and the message behind it, but Joy interrupted again, laughing sarcastically. "So this is another one of those Hollywood saves the world movies, huh?" Julia froze. The audience audibly booed. Even Sonny Hostin looked stunned. Julia turned to Joy and said, "You know, I've always admired your honesty, but this feels personal. And if it is, maybe we should talk about it off camera." Joy raised her eyebrows and leaned back in her chair, smirking. "Oh, I'm just doing my job." That was the breaking point. Julia's composure cracked. She stood up, microphone still clipped to her dress, and said, "Well, I think I'm done with this kind of job. This isn't an interview, it's an ambush." The crowd erupted, some cheered, some gasped. The hosts looked stunned. The floor manager waved frantically for a commercial break, but Julia was already walking off the stage. She moved quickly, her heels clicking against the studio floor, her face flushed with anger. Whoopi called after her, "Julia, wait, don't." But the cameras caught everything. Julia disappeared behind the curtain as producers scrambled. The show cut abruptly to an awkward transition, the audience left in stunned silence. Within minutes, the clip began circulating online. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every platform exploded with the same footage: Julia Roberts storming off The View. Hashtags like #FitJuliaRoberts, walkout for Joy Julia, and WeView meltdown started trending within hours. Some defended Julia, saying she had been provoked unfairly. Joy Behar crossed the line, one user posted. Julia handled it with class until she couldn't anymore. Others sided with Joy, arguing that celebrities should expect tough questions. She signed up for this. Another user wrote, "If she can't handle real talk, she shouldn't go on The View." By the afternoon, major entertainment outlets were running with the story. TMZ had a headline ready before the show had even ended. Julia Roberts explodes on live TV. Walks off The View after Joy Behar confrontation. Entertainment Tonight aired a segment analyzing the tension, complete with slow-motion clips and expert commentary. Inside sources from The View leaked that the backstage scene was even more chaotic than what viewers saw. Julia reportedly threw off her mech pack and told a producer, "I'm not coming back on that set." She was seen leaving the studio with her publicist, visibly shaken but refusing to speak to the cameras, waiting outside. Joy, meanwhile, was unapologetic. Later that day, she addressed the controversy on X, writing, "We ask tough questions on The View. That's what we do. If guests can't handle that, maybe morning TV isn't for them." The post only fueled the fire. Fans flooded her mentions with angry responses accusing her of bullying and disrespecting one of Hollywood's most beloved stars. Whoopi tried to calm things down on the next day's broadcast. Sitting solemnly at the table, she told viewers, "What happened yesterday wasn't our finest hour. Things got heated and emotions ran high. We've reached out to Julia to apologize for how things unfolded." But Julia didn't respond publicly. For 3 days, she stayed silent. Paparazzi photos showed her walking in Malibu with sunglasses and a baseball cap, refusing to answer shouted questions. Finally, her representative released a brief statement. Julia was deeply disappointed by how her appearance on The View turned out. She values open dialogue but felt disrespected during her segment. She wishes the hosts all the best. That single statement didn't stop the speculation. Industry insiders whispered that Julia had vowed never to appear on daytime talk shows again. Some said the incident revealed a deeper cultural rift, a clash between old-school Hollywood grace and modern media sensationalism. Meanwhile, late-night comedians couldn't resist. Jimmy Fallon joked, "When Julia Roberts walks out, you know it's bad." She smiled through Pretty Woman and Erin Brockovich, but not through The View. The audience roared. But behind the jokes, the fallout was serious. ABC executives held emergency meetings about tightening guest relations and improving on-set communication. Producers reportedly begged Julia's team for a chance to make amends, even offering to air a pre-taped apology segment, but her camp declined. In the following weeks, the moment became part of pop culture lore. Clips of Julia standing up, fire in her eyes, became memes, GIFs, and TikToks soundtracked by dramatic music. "When you've had enough of fake people," one caption read over the clip of her walking off. Ironically, Julia's movie, the very project she was trying to promote, saw a huge spike in attention. The trailer views skyrocketed and her name dominated Google searches. What had started as a PR disaster ended up reigniting interest in her career. Months later, during a magazine interview, Julia finally broke her silence about the incident. She didn't name names but said, "I think people forget there's a human being behind the smile. I can take criticism, but I won't tolerate disrespect. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful thing you can do." Her words resonated deeply with fans and even with some of her peers in Hollywood. Actresses like Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon subtly showed support on social media, liking her quotes and posting cryptic messages about grace under pressure. As for Joy Behar, she eventually addressed it again on air. "I don't regret asking hard questions," she said, "but I do regret how it ended. I've always liked Julia and I hope she knows that. But the damage was done." That episode of The View became infamous, one of those viral television moments that live on forever. It wasn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong, it was a clash of personalities, philosophies, and pride broadcast live for the world to see. And somewhere in that tension, between Julia's quiet dignity and Joy's unapologetic candor, audiences saw something real, something raw, a reminder that even in a world of carefully crafted images and media polish, emotions still break through. Julia Roberts walked off that set not just as a movie star, but as a woman who decided she'd had enough. The moment didn't break her, it redefined her. And as Hollywood watched, the message was clear: even America's sweetheart knows when to stand up and walk away.